1 day of jury deliberations down. Yes, the jury in the New York Trump case has gotten the instructions from the judge, and the instructions from the judge are about as convoluted and confusing as this entire case is. Now, let me make something very clear, folks. I'm 55 years old. I've been in the news game for over 30 years. I've been in and out of courtrooms for a long time. I've been covering this Trump case now since the very beginning. And I'm still confused by it. I get text messages all the time. Can you explain this to me, Grant? It's meant to be confusing. And it gets even worse when you look at some of the jury instructions. So let me just remind you, this is 34 counts surrounding one payment to Stormy Daniels that's actually not about the payment, but about how it was recorded as a business expense. That would normally be a misdemeanor. But they change it to 34 felonies because Alvin Bragg, the district attorney, says this is about covering up a crime. Now, here's what's really crazy. What crime President Trump was covering up, apparently, according to this judge, the jury doesn't have to agree on. This is how nonsensical all of this is. President Trump outside court today.
Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged. The whole country's a mess between the borders and fake elections, and you have a trial like this where the judge is so conflicted he can't breathe. He's got to do his job, and it's not for me, that I can tell you. It's a disgrace, and I mean that. Mother Teresa could not beat those charges, but we'll see. We'll see how we do.
You know, President Trump says Judge Merchan has to do his job. That's called get Trump. That's what this is about. So again, I told you, the judge in his instructions said the jurors don't have to agree on the underlying crime. Now, originally, even I was covering this every day, thought the underlying crime was to cover up a so-called campaign expenditure that the Federal Elections Commission didn't want to prosecute President Trump on. But now, apparently, he says the jury doesn't have to agree on what crime it was covered up. And I may oversimplify this. They just have to agree that they tried to cover up some crime, whether it's a tax offense, whether it's the campaign expenditure, or a records keeping issue. Just has to be a cover up. Andy McCarthy, you hear President Trump talk about him all the time, great legal mind, said this on Fox News.
And here the judge is telling them they don't have to agree about what the other crime is under circumstances where that not only is what makes this a felony, what makes it a 4-year potential prison penalty rather than a year or less, but it's also what gets us into the courtroom, because if this had been a misdemeanor, the time to bring this case would have lapsed in 2019. So the only reason they're still able to bring this case is because it's a felony, allegedly, and yet now the judge is saying, you don't have to agree on what the felony is.
Is your head spinning yet? It's okay if it is. Even the smartest people in America, their heads are spinning when it comes to all of this stuff. Again, I do believe it's designed to confuse, so the jury goes in, well, maybe he was covering up something, this, that, and the other thing. Guilty. I'm hoping they see through this absolute charade. Now, there are some signs that the left realizes that it's backfiring on them, that the charade and the jig is up. This is a CNN legal analyst saying something I can't believe that they would admit on CNN.
There is reasonable doubt all over this case. Where is Keith Schiller? Where is Alan Weisselberg? How did Michael Cohen get away with stealing $30,000? Hold a pity party for him. Made $4 million on this. Thought he'd be chief of staff. He's a fixer. If the plumber comes to my house to fix my leak, I could be home. That doesn't mean I know how he's doing it and what it's taking to be fixed. Stormy Daniels, let's hold a pity party for her. Why do we need to know whether or not the former president wore a condom or not? It's simply about, did the former president know that books, his records, false entries, for legal fees, Michael Cohen was his lawyer. Did he intend to cover up the election or to protect his family? It's everywhere.
Reasonable doubt. Everywhere. That from a CNN analyst. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know. Well, I will say this. I think my favorite moment of the day today anyway. It's always when President Trump comes out and speaks. You could see he was frustrated, but he had a little fun with this. Remember Robert De Niro, the clown of an actor now, sadly, one of the greatest actors of all time, is now an a-hole, to put it bluntly, and his performance outside of court yesterday. President Trump talked about De Niro. Here's what he said.
Horrible president that we have. And then they have a protest of Robert De Niro yesterday. He's a fool. He's a broken down fool standing out there. And he got maggot. He got maggot yesterday. He got a big dose of it.
MAGA. What does getting maggot mean? You want to see what getting maggot mean? I'll show you.
You're a mook, M-O-O-K, mook. You're a traitor to Italian and Jews. You're a traitor to Italian Jews. You ain't Bobby De Niro. You ain't. He's a mook. M-O-O-K. Robert De Niro.
What does mook mean? Somebody yelled to him. He said, Google it. I don't need to Google what a mook means. I'm from New York as well. Robert De Niro wants to think he's a big, tough New Yorker. I'll tell you what a mook means. It means you're an imbecile. You're an idiot. You're stupid. Feckless. That's what a mook means. Great description of Robert De Niro, by the way. So with that, you're looking at what is happening here with the underlying crimes. What happens if he's convicted? What happens on the appeal? What happens if he gets probation? What does the probation officer do? All these things are questions for a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor, Trump legal surrogate, David Gilman. We had him. I think we're trying to get him back right now. But all of these are the types of questions that need to be asking. You know, if you have a probation officer and he is a left-wing lunatic, if, God forbid, President Trump is convicted on this and say they don't put him in prison, I don't know how you put a 77-year-old man in prison who's never been convicted of a crime. This probation officer could do whatever they want to him. They could put him under house arrest. They could make him report once a week. They could make him not allowed to leave the state. They could lock him down either at Mar-a-Lago or maybe his home in New York. They could literally rig this campaign by one low-level probation officer.